Hitting record.
Hey ball python enthusiasts, I just wanted to make a short video today sort of addressing a dual issue of humidity and hides and how they sort of interact. We up here in the Northeast have just come out of coming out of a brutally cold and dry winter. So establishing and maintaining a healthy humidity level has been a bit of a challenge for us. So I've come up with a couple of ways to deal with that, and I'd like to share those with you today. The first element of that let's talk about is the hide. Over the years I've used a number of different hides, commercially available ones, stuff that you sort of use, whether upside down box or terracotta or whatever, and they all work. But I wanted to do something a little bit better, something that addresses decent humidity levels while at the same time being sterile and easily cleaned and versatile. So what I did was I sort of started from scratch, and I went to a craft store and I picked up a simple wooden box. I've since seen these in the dollar store, so I paid too much, but this was about 10 bucks, but they're available at a lot of places. It's very, very simple. There's a lid and a bottom. In this case, of course, upside down is what I have here, and that is in fact the bottom. So what I've done is I took a jigsaw and I cut out a hole here for access, and then I took out two sections from the bottom of here, and I have one here, I'll show you what I mean, about 8 inches by 4 inches. And the thinking here is that when this sits on the substrate, it will allow the humidity to pass up through. And then what I have here is some reptile carpet. This is available at a lot of places. If you can't get this, certainly AstroTurf will work just as well. Trim it to fit, and then it goes in here. And again, the idea being when this sits there, the humidity can pass up through the substrate and to the snake, and there's a nice cleanable or even disposable surface here for the snake to be on. And then the lid will go on here, and there you have it. And what I've done to make sure that this is working properly is I've actually just fixed a simple hygrometer inside the lid here, and this one reads 60, and it pretty much always reads 60, so that's working really well for her. Now, of course, I just had raw wood, and that isn't suitable for humid areas, so what I did then is I took this and I used some marine varnish, and I put 3, maybe 4 coats of marine varnish inside and out on this thing, so that it doesn't get mildewy or warp or in any way harbor little organisms and so on. So that was what I did to prevent water from seeping in, but then it became a concern about fumes and so on, so I made sure that I let this dry for 5 solid days. And in fact, on one of those days I left it open sort of like that with a fan blowing on it to make sure that it was all completely dry and free of fumes. Ball pythons have very delicate respiratory systems, and I didn't want to compromise her in any way. So this is really worked out well for me. I have 3 carpets that I just sort of rotate through to make sure she's clean. This is little Lucy. She is my 6-month-old Pastave. She has actually just eaten, so she's cranky and she's not enjoying our time together today at all. So I'm going to go ahead and put her back into bed. She's actually being nice. She's a good girl. She's a good eater. There's actually a couple of indicators of whether or not your humidity is good. One of them is respiratory. That would be things like if you see bubbles at the nostrils or you hear wheezing. Those could be indicators that there's respiratory problems, and sometimes that's a result of humidity. But the one that you're more likely to see is shed condition. She is actually just shedded, and when she sheds, this is an example of that, pretty much a nice clean from eye caps to the tip of the tail. Nice clean continuous shed. Sometimes you'll see fragmented sheds all around the enclosure, little pieces here and there, and that's often an indication that you have got too low of a humidity. And that's okay. It is a hard thing to do, to keep your humidity up high. So that kind of leads into my second part of things, and that would be the actual terrarium itself. If you are using an Exoterra terrarium like I am, they are really terrific for viewability and so on, but where they lack and their weakness is in their ability to keep humidity. They evaporate up very readily. So what I did was I went to a guy right here in the city, a glass guy, and I gave him the dimensions, and I simply asked him to make me 3 of these. These are just plexiglass pieces that I had him make, and they just rest right in here. 3 of them cost me 10 bucks, and it is instantly effective. This made an impact right away. I've left the way I heat my enclosure is two small under tanks. One is under the water source, and then one is just over here. And then I have a ceramic bulb here for a kind of a hot area. And the whole gradient generally is about 80 degrees inside, about 77 out here, and 90 in the hot spot. And it pretty much maintains that way there. I use a temperature gun, and by the way, no one should be without these now. These used to be super expensive, but these are so readily available on eBay now. I got this one for $21, and this is what you want. The little ones that they sell in the pet store that you sort of stick on the bottom or the back, they're not as effective. This will tell you exactly the temperature of a particular part. So that one is 78 degrees. She's 82 degrees, and my hot spot is exactly 90. So that is a real important tool. So that's pretty much it. I just wanted to basically show that with a little work, little effort, you can really create a nice healthy balance. In the wild, a ball python will go from burrow to burrow or area to area, sort of instinctively addressing their climatic condition needs or their humidity needs. But when we have them in captivity, they're really counting on us to do the right thing. And so you got to put a little effort in and try and make this right. So many ball pythons, I think, perish every year because their temperatures are too high, too low, it's too dry, or even overdone in humidity. That's never a good thing either. Between 50 and 70 is pretty much the comfort zone of a ball python, mostly around 60. 70 if they're going into a shed, for sure, but generally speaking, 60 should be roughly your target. And I think this is one of those ways that you could achieve that target. So thanks very much, and good luck with you. Thanks.